Well, you know the old saying, there are some people who just go on a destiny road, but in the end they fall. Nah, that's actually not an old saying. And I actually said the wrong thing. What was those old saying now again? Those that tread the thread will always fall. Or maybe it's, nah, I cannot find out the real word saying it. Maybe the real answer to all of this is those that fight monsters. Maybe that is the real word I was looking for. Because that is an expression, not by me, but by TV tropes. Yes, this is me, the angry anime fan, the despair reviewer, although primarily, mostly always do Eden Zero weekly. I sometimes review the others depending on other reviews. And this is Eden Zero chapter 157. Finally it released after been silent for a while. But we're not exactly switching to the Siggy situation. So they're trying to give us even more despair than they are already doing. Either way, we see Oasis outside fighting, and they seem to have an advantage. Note, seem to have an advantage. I don't like this situation. Not that it looks like the Oasis is not winning. I mean, the despair, the the thread of despair is hanging in the air. It is too good to be true. But this is Hiro Mashima. He always makes sure that it always is good to be true. So please tell me it's good to be true. And tell me the Oasis won't die. But I'm just saying, especially as the saying that they don't believe the saying is. As Goodwin mentions the boss and the princess, are they watching this? Well, speaking of which, we finally have one theory confirmed. Actually, it perhaps wasn't that surprising. What is more surprising is, why did she do this? Given what she says in the end, I have a feeling it is not something kind-hearted. Either way, Sister and Hermito have actually managed to heal themselves. The, partially thanks to that thing. They're willing to go to rescue Witch as well as taking down Shura. Of course, Couchpo is a little bit panicky about this, especially since she cannot fight. But sisters Angelique and they need to go because they don't want to lose any more friends. But it's here that actually Couchpo says something. I mean, granted, what she says here, it almost sounds like she wants them to keep for reasons more of the fact that, well, she can't defend the ship, yes. I mean, wouldn't that be surprising if the affable Couchpo that we see here is actually not so infallible as we actually think she is? That would actually be the ultimate irony of it all. But there may be an alternative. But she, as we all know, she is But despite for all of her food things metaphor and her comic relief like things, Couchpo can surprisingly be wise when she says so. And that is why I'm always sometimes getting the vibe that, is this meant to be that implying that it's a red herring for something that she's more, dangerous than we think she is? Or is she genuinely a comic relief that is just that wise? Because here she actually says, what don't you believe in Shiki and the others? Is the fact that remember what she said to Shiki. What she said to Shiki actually briefly calmed him down. And now she says this, not the same, but she says another word to the two shrine maidens that actually makes them pause. Don't you believe in Shiki? I'm not asking you to protect me. I'm asking you to protect the ship we all want to come home to. Don't worry about little which Shiki boy will bring her back. You can count on it. You know that, right? So yeah, as a fat comic relief she may be, she is surprisingly wise. Unless, of course, all that wisdom is some kind of ulterior motive. But for now, I'm not buying into that theory. Let's just say that, yes, she is a comic relief that is just that wise. Either way, the gang of Shiki are actually running into something. A big thread that once it ties together with Shiki and Rebecca, they suddenly begins to feel very strange. Especially they begin to feel very close up. which is an Empire Ether. But it then actually Happy shows something else. It reveals that its tail is actually a small-time blade that actually cuts the thread of it all. But when they cut the thread, they suddenly get angry at each other, saying they hate each other. So begins to fight. But it's during this time that Yuna appears, and yes, it is her ether gear. And she, for once, someone actually reveals the name of their ether gear immediately. The red string of destiny cultivates love in their heart. When that string breaks, that love creates Tuluthing. That's the power of my ether gear, red destiny. Which is actually, and given the markings on her hands, that is basically exactly the same ether. That's the same one has been publicized, when she was going out. But it is also revealed that she can use her ether gears to snare up everyone else. So, but even though they are fighting and being angry, they are actually crying out, which is mean their hearts are making. I'm a little bit upset though that they cannot fight that with this is an Empire Ether, so why can't they fight it out? Because they have to know themselves. Well, maybe because this is something that attacks emotions, and knowing themselves is not exactly that easy. But as tears are rolling, they suddenly turns into water, which is Laguna appearing. That is actually a little surprising, because I thought for sure Laguna were going to appear before Witch, and as she saw him, she would cry, turn into water and be saved. But nah, Witch is still in danger of being killed right now. And I'm just wondering, but at least this was a good thing to show Laguna popping up. As she grabs the cans of the water, she gives it to the mother, saying, "Let him go and rescue Witch." As they suddenly run away, suddenly Laguna takes a harder look at Luna and actually recognizes her as, yes, she is indeed the Princess Oasis. But as revealed in the flashback, she looked much more prettier, had longer hair. As he suddenly calls her princess, she as coldly says that to not call her that, and that she abandoned Oasis just like you did. Well, that wasn't too much of a surprise. We all guessed that Yuna was the princess. The biggest question now is, why did she abandon it? Because the way she says it to Laguna implies that it was a very morbid reason. However, this also creates something slight interesting in the situation. Her ether gear, Red Destiny, manipulates emotions to either love to hate. And as we all know, Shura sees her as his secretary, and shows extreme hate to anyone who says otherwise. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Yuna has somehow used her ether gear on him to manipulate his emotions somehow. Because the next chapter is one, He Who Never Knew Love. And if you ask me, I'm pretty sure that is Shura. And that will once again bring forth not a tragedy, but slight, I want to say, miscalculation in Nero's way. Because as we all know, Shura is a spoiled psychopath. But it wouldn't surprise me if Poseidon Nero never showed him any fatherly love. Because after all, that wasn't destiny. Which may be why, combined with the power of Saturn's gravity, that may have actually warped the mindset of Shura to become the twisted young man that we see now. So yeah, it was kind of morbid to see, the feelings of love and suddenly anger in Shiki and Rebecca, even though Laguna managed to save it. But now Laguna is going to face off against Yuna. Again, why did she abandon Oasis? Laguna abandoned Oasis because she wanted to find outside force, outside help against the Empire. And as revealed before, the princess used to be a very cheery and someone who was always very encouraging, even talking about the red string of destiny. But now she is likely cold. As we all know, the Oasis believes she is dead, which makes it very likely that it was Yuna who killed this woman, or somehow made it look like it was her and then killed her, which shows just how cold it is. The fact that she is even helping Shura stop them is also strange, because that would imply that she is not after Shura's defeat. And she even called the Ocean Six useless as the rest of them, which implies that that was the Oasis she was talking about. She felt Oasis is weak. So yeah, that is a very tragic tale on what used to be a very sherry and loving character, now has become a twisted psychopath as well. But why? Well, we just have to wait and see. We will probably get that answer soon. But yeah, I guess it makes sense then that the two that abandoned Oasis are facing off against each other. Will Laguna bring her back to her senses, or is the princess far beyond saving? I think she is far beyond saving. Not to mention she is too scandalously sexy dressed. Maybe she truly is not the princess in that scenario. So yeah, that was just one reveal, which was welcoming. But what happens next, I don't know. But hopefully they can save which of it all. Couchbow showing wisdom, and the princess is revealed to indeed be Yuna. Or Luna, whatever. Give me your thoughts if you have any.